Hello, everyone. My name is LP Mainville. I'm the Athlete Development Director for the OVA. And in today's presentation, we're continuing with the theme of practice planning for early contact. And in this session, we're gonna focus on the traditional non-specialized format, okay, and stream. So let's go through everything. So we're gonna use the seasonal plan for traditional non-specialized that's available on the website. And I will show it to you in just a second. There it is. So this is the seasonal plan we're going to use. Okay. And so in this presentation, what I'm trying to do here is show you guys how to use a seasonal plan to facilitate the practice planning process. Okay. So how do you take a seasonal plan? What information are you looking for? And how does this tool help you plan your practice in no time? And not just planning any type of practice, but planning a practice that is going to be consistent with what you've done just before this practice and also what you're going to do after this practice, right? Because it's one thing to design a practice. It's another to make sure that there's some consistency and progression and connection between the things that you do, okay, in your sessions. So that's what we're going to do. So this is the seasonal plan. Now, the template we're going to use is the same we use in our other sessions. So it's going to look like this. I'm going to zoom in a second. Okay. Just a reminder, this template is adapted from the template that is provided in the development coach workshop and evaluation with NCCP. Okay, but it is very similar and has almost exactly the same little boxes to fill out, and we'll go through them as we plan our practice. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to make this bigger just so that everyone can see what is going on. Okay, this is much better. At least it is for me, so I hope it is for you. Okay, so just going to focus on the top here. So what information do we have here as we start our practice plan? Well, we have the name of our team. So we're planning for Team Ontario Traditional and Specialized here, a fictional team. And so we're going to have to know where we are at in our season. Okay, so for this session, for this practice plan, so in the 4-on-4, we talked about an early season tournament week. Then in the 6-on-6 rally ball session, we talked about a early season post-tournament week. And in this session, we're going to talk about a week that's further up in our season, just to see kind of how that's different and what kind of differences there may be there. So if you are watching this because your team is in traditional non-specialized, that's great. But if you want to see kind of the process and the things to think about in a different context for a different time in your week and relative to your competitions, you can go and watch the other 2 sessions. Okay, so I decided to go with week 19. Okay, and we're going to do the Wednesday practice in this practice today. All right, so week 19, that means that's the week of February 7th. And this is why here I have week 19 and February 9th, because we're on the Wednesday and that's going to be the date of our practice. I'm assuming that we have 12 players on our team, since I know this is a number that's very common in all teams in Ontario. And again, the most, popular session length throughout clubs in Ontario is usually about 2 hours. So that's the time that we're going to plan for this session, right? Now, in here, we have the priority skills and session objectives, okay? So this is the same process here at this stage in our season than it is at the beginning, okay? So we're going to use the same process that we used in previous 2 sessions. And we're going to go down here to look at the technical skill priority chart. So I'm planning for a Wednesday. So I'm going to look at this and see, okay, what's my priority skill? I'm right here. my priority skill is attacking. Great. All right. Now, if we were in early season here, we would be able to use the key teaching points that are indicated in here. Okay, so those were provided as part of the template. All right, and these were left blank for every coach to kind of fill on their own. All right, so all these letters here refer to a teaching point in this tab right here, the third tab in the document. Okay, so for each main skill, there's a series of teaching points that are suggested by the OVA, and they have a letter code. All right, so you could, and you're encouraged to kind of keep going through your seasonal plan and start adding those codes here as you go. All right, in order to again facilitate knowing what the focus of your practice is going to be, because not only do you want to know that your main skill is going to be attacking, and that's what you're going to kind of build your practice around, but you also want to know what piece, what area of attacking do we want to get better at. All right. Now, as you get, it's hard at the beginning of the season to really plan for which those will be at the end of the season or in the middle of your season. So that's why those are blank. And you would have to obviously see how your team is doing in competition to then adjust your focus. Okay. So with our imaginary team, I've kind of made up some needs, and those are going to be reflected in the top section of that seasonal plan. Okay, so we've identified attacking, and that's we put in here. Attacking is going to be a priority skill, and I've made up some teaching points, objectives that I want to work on with the athletes because we were just at a competition the weekend prior, so we have some information. Okay, and some of the things we saw were that when we attacked, we were having a hard time adjusting to sets that were not perfect. And we were also making some pretty bad decisions when the set wasn't perfect. So we were trying to hit the ball hard when the ball was inside, when a set was inside or a set was off the net. And it just led to a lot of errors on our end. Okay. And so now that we're focusing on attacking in this session, we're going to want to address that. Okay. So once you've identified kind of that need, you can then pinpoint what exactly the teaching points are going to be for your session, and those will be reflected in your objectives, right? So the objectives that we're going to set for ourselves, for our team, is going to be to improve adjustment on inside and off the net sets. We're going to improve our decision making on attack, so whether we're going to hard hit or keep in play, right? Or you could say put in trouble, okay, put the other team in trouble, because we don't want to just keep the ball in play. And then we're going to learn to take the setter out, okay, if we are attacking to kind of keep the ball in play. All right, so those are going to be things we do. Now in the message section here, I included a reminder to the players about the mental performance on Zoom this week, because over here, when I look at the my entire seasonal plan, I'm going to notice that this week we have a Zoom mental performance session. Okay, and we're going to pretend that it's on the Thursday, so on the Wednesday I have to notify my players and remind them that we're going to be on that call the next day. All right, so I put that here in this template. So once I've done all of this, I know that I'm ready to plan my drills. Okay, so by the way, this section here, I'm talking it out loud, but really it takes about 2 minutes to do. Okay, once you open up your season plan, you know where you're at, you know what you just did the last practice, you know what you just did at a tournament, you've probably already did your evaluation of the team after your tournament, so you already know since the Sunday that the focus of your session here is going to be that area of attacking. So it's really quick to fill out that first portion and make sure you're ready to go. Okay. Now, we don't have physical training in that session. We do have some half hour of competition at the end of our practice or at some point in our practice, okay? But there's no physical training. Okay, so the only thing that I need to worry about is going to be my 5 minute of speed max work that I want to do at the beginning of the session after warm up. All right. Now we're going to come back to this a little bit later, okay, and see what kind of system and tactical objectives I can include in my practice. All right. Okay, so let's get going with our practice plan. So with my warm up here, and actually, let's just go to the tactical and system objectives, because there's a reason why I chose this session this week here. And the reason was that this is the first week after our event on the 31st of the week of the 31st of January. First week where we are going to start using a 6-2 offensive system. So for the first two events with my TNS team, had to play a 6-6. Everybody set, no specialization. So I did that. Then I transitioned to a 6-3 for the next two events. And now I'm starting to work on my 6-2 for the rest of the season. Okay. So what that means is that by this point, I've brought it down to 4 setters because I have 12 players. I play in fair play. So I need to have 2 lineups. And when I do a 6-2, I'm going to have 2 setters on court, which means I need 2 lineups of 2 setters. So 4 setters total. Great. Right? We started with 12 setters. Now I have 4. And those are the setters I want to move forward with. Okay. Because they've just proven that they are a good fit for that position. Okay? Not just because they're the last option, but they're actually players that have the skills mentally, and physically that we need for our setters on our team. So knowing that, I need to consider this as I plan for my practice. Okay. And the one thing, as soon as you start kind of specializing some of your setters, one of the things you're going to want to do is give them a little bit more reps. Okay. So that you're not just working on setting when you have setting as a priority skill, okay? Or else you'll never work on it, or not enough that your setters will get the repetitions and the coaching that they need. Okay. So there needs to be focused setting repetitions for these athletes, probably at each practice. And I like to do that as part of a warm up. So what we're going to do here is we are going to do a separate warm up for the setters and for the rest of the team. Okay. So that's going to allow us to get ready for our session on attacking, and it's going to allow our setters to get some specific reps, okay, with the coaches so that they get ready for the session, because we're going to work on attacking. So they're going to set a lot of balls, but here at the beginning, we can kind of establish certain things. So that's why you're going to see there's a lot of information here. And this is probably that warm up is probably the most complex thing that you have to do in your practice planning here, because you just kind of need to design 2 different drills on the same court. Okay, because again, I'm planning with 1 court in mind, knowing that most teams in the OVA only have access to 1 court. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to have the setters on one side of the net. Okay, setters will be on, sorry, this is not actually connected. Okay, let me try this again. Setters are going to be on this side, okay, and the rest of the team on this side here. Okay, so what we're going to do, as you can see here in the drill, we're going to have a setter specific and rest of team warm up with the purpose of getting the body warm and getting the setters setting reps, specifically working on being stable and balanced on contact. Okay, because again, this is something I saw at the last tournament. So we're going to have a bunch of skills involved. The cues, because we're going to want to talk about some cues in decision making here, are very, very simple. Again, we're not deciding between 2 options. We're really just kind of looking at the cues that are related to where the ball is, where I need to move my body, and that type of stuff. Okay, so very basic level cues and decisions. The description, pretty simple. On one side, we are going to do what we call a dig and set drill. So I'm going to draw it out here for you. So the way it's going to work is we're going to start with a couple of players here at the net. Oh, no, I want another color. Sorry. Let me use this color here. Okay. We're going to have a couple of players here at the net with a ball. Okay. And these players are going to hit ball to a player that's here in position 5. There's going to be a couple of players waiting behind. There is going to be a player here in position 1 who is going to be the setter. with a person waiting behind, and we're going to have a target here. Okay, and the way the movement of the ball works is very simple. The ball goes from here at the beginning, it's hit to the digger, who then digs it right in the middle here for the setter, who then sets the ball to the target. Okay, so that's the movement of the ball. In terms of the movement of the players, it's going to be like this. So the players, after they hit the ball from position 2, are going to go around the court. Okay, but when they go here on this line here, they're going to do some dynamics. Okay, so they're going to do one item of their dynamic warm up, maybe lunges, the ground sweeps, any types of stretches, high knees, that type of stuff, and then they're going to continue over to here. And that's the reason why we start with 3 players here, just because we know that this dynamics here is going to be a little longer. So we do want to have a few more players on in this row here, okay, to make sure that it all flows well. So after you dig the ball, you follow your ball. So then you would go behind this line. Then after you set the ball, you become the target. Okay, and after you become the target, then you would just kind of walk along the net to go back here. Okay, very simple. We've seen this before. I just want to put the, draw the lines again for the ball, and that is it. All right, so that's how this drill works. What we're going to do for this specific drill is there's going to be 3 rounds, and you can see it here. Okay, in the execution criteria, there's going to be 8 minutes per round, and we do this for 25 minutes, so about 3 rounds. And round 1 is going to be from position 2. You're going to hit from here, then they're going to come and hit from here, and then in the third one, they're going to do, because now they've done both sides, and I kind of want the athletes to start jumping a little bit and warm up for the attacking we're going to do. So in this next one, we're going to do something that's more like 1 player here, 1 player here, player at the net here with the ball and no target. And this player can kind of toss a ball, maybe a tip or something, make the players move, so that, let's say they send it to this player, then this player would dig it up, and then this player would set the ball here. And after the player has passed the ball, they would come around, jump, and catch the ball. Okay, so that would be a way for them to kind of warm up their approach and start jumping a little bit. Now, not hitting the ball over, because we're going to have the setters on this side of the net. Okay, so those are going to be the 3 rounds we're going to do. In terms of the setters, it's going to be very simple. We're going to have a coach, okay, manipulating balls over here. The reason why is just because we want to get as many reps as possible. Ideally, I'd have a player here tossing the ball, but I think as part of the warm-up, probably is faster for us to do it this way. And then we're going to start with the setters in position 1, and they're going to penetrate from here. We're going to have a target here. So we have 4 setters. So we're going to have 4 players on this side. And what's going to happen is coach has the ball. The ball is just going to be tossed somewhere along the net as the just after the setter has penetrated from position 1 to the net, and then they're going to set the ball to the outside. Okay, so you're going to set the ball to the outside, then this player is going to get the ball, give it back to the coach, and then they're just going to rotate to the end here, and whoever set the ball is going to become the target. Okay, so I know it's lots of arrows, but they're essentially just kind of butterfly going through, setting to position 4. Now we have some teaching point here, which is to be stable and balanced on contact and having some quick feet to the ball. Okay, so I may have them move around a little bit, and I may adjust how hard the ball is, but the point is we're getting some reps setting to the outside, and they're doing this for 8 minutes. Then we're going to switch right here and do one round to right side. And then we're going to do a last round where I'm going to draw it on this board here. Actually, sorry, I forgot to mention, when we do our round for the right side here, we're going to practice coming from position 5. Okay, so we're going to switch the setters to position 5 so that we practice that penetration as well, because in our 6-2, our setter is always in the back row, and setter in 1 and setter in 5 are probably the most, I guess, complicated rotations for the setters. because setter and 6, they essentially start right at the net. So it's a pretty easy one that we don't need to perhaps practice as much. Okay, so for their third round, we're going to bring them back to position 1, and they're going to penetrate, set the ball. But I wanted to show you, after they set the ball, let's say the setter is here, and they set the ball to position 4 because the target was here. Well, they don't need to follow the ball. They can pick whether they want to go this way to be the target for the next ball or this way. All right. And since it's happening pretty fast, the next setter who's here and coming in to set is going to have to notice where the target is going and set the ball to that target, okay, before they choose where they want to go target. Okay, so that's why I wrote 1 round random, read the target. So players get to choose after they're set where they want to go target. So it just kind of includes a little cue reading component for this next setter that's coming in that makes it a little random and helps them kind of pay attention to something else than just the ball, okay, as they're coming in to set. All right. So yeah, so that will be the third round. Okay, so we do this for about 25 minutes. Now, I don't know if you can see, like, what I mean by this is probably the drill that requires the most planning, because you kind of need to figure out how everything is going to work, how every player is going to get, through their warm up, and there's just a lot of moving pieces. Okay, and again, because you've got your 12 players doing this on just one court. All right, so take the time to plan this. There's lots of ways to include setting in your warm up specific for your setters, and that's an example of how to do it. But again, when you start doing that, you're going to want to take time to make sure everything's going to work out well. Right? Okay, I see a question. Okay. In the first drill, do you want to pass to go to the net or just to the middle of the court? Oh, good question. So on this side here, the diggers are digging the ball in the middle of the court. Okay. So if I was to put a target here, make it yellow. Well, lots of colors. My target here would probably be somewhere here for the defender. Okay, so the defenders that are here are going to dig the ball within this kind of square here, probably even like a little smaller. Okay, so that setter here can come and set the ball. So we're really training again. That would be, if this was my team, this is what we would be talking about. We would be talking about digging the ball up in the middle of the court, not necessarily trying to dig the ball to the net. Okay, especially when we play a 6-2 and our setters are always in the back row playing in position 1. It's really it makes it really hard for the setters to dig the ball right up to the net. Okay, especially on hard hits too, it's hard to control. So we're better off just keep it in the middle and learning how to transition from a high ball situation in the middle of the court. Okay. So I hope that helps. Just gonna erase this. Okay. So this is our warm up. We're going to move on to our first drill. So now that everybody is warm, ready to go, I want to make sure that I address this, at least one of these here. Okay, so the focus of the session is going to be attack. Oh, yeah, it's going to be attacking. I forgot. I wrote it here. It was supposed to be in red. But we have to do our 5-minute speed at the end. So we did our 25-minute warm up, and we need to do our speed work at the end because we have this in our seasonal plan for each practice. So because we're doing attacking, and also because I want to offer you a different way of doing it. So I presented one way of doing that in the 4-on-4 practice plan session. I offered a different way to do that in our 6-on-6 rally ball session. And I want to offer another different way to work on speed, specifically related to attacking in this one session. Okay. Now, I'm not going to draw it out. I'm just going to tell you what it is. But after we've done this, I would have my players do what I call a throw and hit drill against a wall, okay, with a bean bag. Okay, so what that is very simple. So obviously this is something we would have done before, okay? So at the beginning of the season, it's always a bit longer when we go at practice because we do a lot of explanation around the drills that we do. But at this point in the season, the athletes would know exactly what they have to do, and they would get into it and do their 5 minutes and be really effective at it. So what they do is they find a piece of wall, okay, around the gym. Now, if you do have a big curtain in your gym, you can do this with a tennis ball and a volleyball. But just like for the sake of planning here and assuming that you just have walls in your gym, you could do this with a bean bag, right? So you just have to find yourself a little bean bag. And then what it is essentially is athletes are facing the wall, okay, and by then their shoulder, is warm, and they toss the ball up. So they hold the bean bag in their right hand if they're right-handed, left hand if they're left-handed, and so they can still hold the ball while holding the bean bag. They will toss the ball with two hands, okay, or one hand, whatever they want to do, but they will toss it high above their head. And as they toss it, they're bringing their arms up, and they want to throw the bean bag as hard as they can towards the wall, and then have to bring their arm all the way back so they can hit the ball that they just threw in the air. Okay, so if you're, I don't know if you can see me here in the corner, but you're basically bean bag in your hand, toss the ball up, throw the bean bag, okay, crank your arm back up so that you can hit the ball nice and fast. Okay, so this activity here actually promotes your athletes working on a really fast, opening up the shoulder and then arm swing. Okay, so it helps them accelerate that arm swing so they can eventually hit faster through the ball, which means they're hitting harder. All right, so it's actually really good all the way from the abs and the core with that rotation through the shoulder and the arm action. Okay, so getting all these movements faster. So when we talk about speed max, most of the time we think about speed of movement and locomotion and moving around. And so we do a lot of sprints and stuff like that. But we have to remember that speed of movement can be speed of any type of movement. Okay, so it could be obviously speed of the arm swing. Okay, so we're going to do this activity for 5 minutes at the end of our warm up. So we've done our speed work and we're ready to go into our practice after a little bit of water. Okay. Is there a resource of these ideas? You mean about around speed training? There's something in the Coach Academy, but I think it's only one way of doing that. I'm not aware. At least I have not produced any resources around speed training that would identify all these methods. But I'm taking a note because I think it would be a great thing to work on and to include in a Coach Academy, or at least a good resource to produce. So just taking a note here. Okay. All right, so moving on, everything is ready to go. We're going to go into our first drill. So we're doing some attacking, and I've identified over here that I want to improve the adjustment on inside and offside and off the net sets. Okay. I know I also want to improve decision making on attack, and so I'm going to have to find a way to do this. Okay, and find a progression to do this. Now, looking at my practice, I know I want to get to the end where I'm going to do half hour of game, and I've already taken half an hour to warm up, so I have an hour left to kind of design some drills for this. And I think I'm going to keep it simple because, again, when you work on attacking and you want to do it well, you're kind of limited in terms of how many players can work on it at the same time. So you're going to need to have rotations between players. You're going to have groups of attackers going in and then rotating these groups. And same thing with the setters, because I have 4 setters and I want all setters to be involved. So I don't think I'm going to try to plan a bunch of different drills here. I may just plan a couple of drills, but spend more time in them and give all athletes lots of time to try things and lots of time as well for me to provide some feedback. Okay. So what I'm going to do is set up a method 1 drill. So that's kind of a drill where athletes get lots of repetition and kind of lots of time to work things out. Okay, and we can really keep the cue reading and decision making. We can keep it very simple before we go into something more game-like and increase the demand on the cue reading. Okay, so we're going to do a little drill here to adjust to the approach, adjust the approach to the set. Okay, so what we're going to do is, and I'm going to draw it out first before I complete the stuff on the side here. But what I'm thinking is, I shouldn't have let that disconnect. Okay, it worked out. Perfect. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have, sorry, little technical problems. Not sure why. Okay. Are you playing me here, computer? See who will play. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. We are going to have, let's split the chord in two. Again, you know, I like to split my chord in two when I have lots of athletes on just one chord. And we're going to create two positions. So I'm going to have a setter here. Oh, I want to disband here. One setter here and essentially one setter here. And this setter is going to be setting the ball back. This setter is going to be setting the ball here. And I'm going to have two attackers working at the same time. Okay, so these two attackers will be in for a certain number of repetitions. Okay, so these two attackers are going to be in until they hit 6 balls each, and then they're going to rotate in another group. Okay, and the rest of the players are going to be on the other side. They're going to be shagging balls and bringing balls back to here, where another player is going to be essentially tossing the ball to the setter. Okay, so we want to keep things simple. The focus here is on attacking, right? It's these guys working, so I don't want to make things complicated for them. And you know, when my 14 new players have like a ball come in and then play out of a free ball, because that could make the pass, too much variation in the pass, which means that then the setter has less control. And what we want is for the setter to have a lot of control. Okay, so we want them to be able to set a ball that's inside. Okay, inside, so that our athletes are able to come out and then adjust to the ball. Okay, so they're adjusting, and we want them to adjust in a way where they're able to hit the ball hard. Okay, so that's what we're working on. So we're really getting them to do this. And at this point, you know, we want them to try to hit the ball hard no matter what, so that we can question them around what type of like what happens when their approach is not good, you know, like with the inside set. So, you know, sometimes they're going to have a great approach. They're going to hit hard. It's going to work out well for them. Sometimes they're going to not have a great approach, and they're going to try to hit hard, and it's not going to work for them. And that's going to be a good opportunity within this drill or at the end to question the athletes about, hey, what happened when we were not in good position, you know, and have them realize that when you're not in good position, hitting hard is not a good option. Okay, and that's going to be important as we transition to our other drill. Okay, so this is why I want at this point all the athletes to hit hard no matter what, but they're really trying to adjust to the inside set. They know it's coming, right? But they're still trying to recognize that set and adjusting for it. Okay, so we're going to actually write this down here. Now, the way this is going to work, like I said, they kind of go mount here, they attack, and then they're going to rotate after a certain number of repetitions. So I'm going to put that in here. Okay, so our execution criteria is going to be groups. Sorry, that would be the description, but it's going to be 12 balls per pair. Okay, go through 3 times at least once in each position. Okay, so 1 time to the right side, 1 time to the left side. Now, in terms of the description, this is where I'm going to want to include stuff such as create groups of 2, ball tossed to setter, control, setter, sets aside, and then my attackers adjustment work. Wait, how do I put that here? Footwork and hitting hard. Again, that hitting hard is important so that we can have a discussion around, okay, is hitting hard a good idea when you're not in a good position? Because they're going to notice it right away. All right. And this is going to be a time for me to actually work here on self-awareness and self-evaluation. Okay, as part of my psychophysical qualities. This is something that I want to have in my practice plan so that I can include some of the things that I have in here and in this portion of my seasonal plan in my drills. Okay, so the psychological skills, if you've seen the session on the seasonal plan, they're not set up as a one-off session to be done on a given week. They're set up as a bunch of skills that we want to work on a regular basis with our athletes in ways that are incorporated in our sessions, okay, and in our coaching in general. All right. So self-awareness and self-evaluation are important. This is how I plan to do this. Here, you can read it when you get a chance, but essentially what I'm saying is that our questioning of the athletes here is going to lead to us really working on these skills here. Okay, so our skills variation, I'm not going to write it down, but it's going to be attacking. And our key cues is going to be here, recognizing inside set. Okay, and the decision is going to be adjust footwork towards the ball. And then we could spend time talking about the technical aspect of it, but I'm not going to get into this because this is all about planning the practice and not necessarily discussing the skills. But at this point, you would create a teaching point that you would include here with some language where it's going to make it clear for the athletes what they have to do in order to adjust to the set. Okay. So we're going to run through this drill. They're going to do this for about 20 minutes. So they're going to have a lot of attacking done in both positions. And now they're going to have an understanding of what it's like to adjust to the ball and what happens when they hit it hard and they haven't adjusted properly. Okay. So from here, I keep losing my connection to the iPad. So bring it back. Oh. Okay. So once I've done this, now I'm going to want to increase the demand on the athletes and include some key reading and decision making a little bit more. And what I want to do, again, because it's going to be hard for me to create a situation that's game-like, okay, and a situation where the athletes are going to have the proper opportunities to recuse, okay, if I try to split my court again. Okay, when I split the court, I'm creating an artificial situation where the sets don't have they don't have the same trajectory. They're a little bit more loopy like this, right? Whereas, let's say you're setting from position 2 to 4, they're going to be a little more flat. Okay, so so the reading component is going to be a little different, and the adjustment too. So I really want to kind of create that very game-like scenario. So I'm not going to split my court in two here, and I'm going to create a kind of a, this would be closer to a method 3 drill, I guess, a mix between method 2 and 3. If you're familiar with NCCP courses, and those are two types of drills that incorporate a lot of key reading and decision making. So let me show you what we're going to do here. So as you can read here, the goal is going to be to improve decision making on attack, and we're going to work on hitting hard to keep it in play. So in the previous drill, we questioned the athletes. They now understand that when they're not in a good position and they try to attack hard, it's not working very well for them. We are talking about the fact, okay, that because we're playing TNS, all teams are non-specialized. So most teams, if not all of them, will have their setter in position 1 in defense because they're going to play with a back row setter at all time, right? So we're going to have a conversation around the fact that if I'm in trouble and I cannot hit the ball hard because the set is not the way like where it should be, or I haven't adjusted properly to the set, so I'm not in a position, okay, to attack hard. Well, in this case, 1 is going to be a great position to send the ball. Okay, so we're going to have this conversation, and so in our drill, okay, once we set it up and we're creating opportunities for decision making, we are going to ask the players to either hit hard, okay, or place the ball into position 1. Okay, those are going to be the 2 options that they have on their set. Okay. And the way we're going to do it, it's described in here, but I'm going to draw it out for you, is we are going to have multiple players involved. So we're going to have, this is going to be the top side here is going to be the defending side, and we're going to just already place 3 blockers because we want to, you know, if we have a chance to work on blocking a little bit, why not? And also because we want to kind of make it real for the attackers. Then we are going to have a situation where we're already in a free ball situation where we already have a, actually we could start with everyone at the net, okay, and then the free ball comes in and everybody gets into position, but I'm just going to draw them once they're already in position. So we're going to have our setter, we're going to have a right side here, a middle player here, a left side player here playing the free ball, and we're going to have a passer, okay, right here. And the ball is going to come from either side here from a coach or a player or whoever is able to put in a free ball, okay, to the back court here, okay? Depending on what you want the rest of your players to do. If there's enough players to shag, you can decide that for yourself. Let's just pretend we have a coach here putting the ball in. So coach has the ball. And yeah, so they put the ball in over here. They played out. They set the ball. Okay, setter can set anywhere they want, or we ask them to kind of keep it equal between players, and they're going to play with 12 balls. So we're going to put 12 balls in, setter's going to set, and then players are going to go and attack. Okay, so the 3 attackers here are just attacking. They're trying to score the ball. The goal is to hit hard, but we're setting up a target over here that if they are, and probably a little shorter actually, like somewhere here. So the position 1 kind of moves forward and they play the ball. But yeah, so we're going to create this zone here so that when the attackers get the ball, they can either hit it hard anywhere on the court and try to score. They're going to have a block like blockers, or they have to roll the ball or set the ball or do whatever they need to do to put the ball in this position here. Okay, so this is 12 balls per group. And then our goal, because we always want to have an execution criteria that relates to our cue reading, okay, because we want to know if we're successful or not. We're going to set a success criteria. So like making a success would be making a good decision, okay, depending on their approach and where the ball is. So we're going to do, at this point, we probably want to do out of 12 balls, we're going to say, at this stage in the season, let's say 9 good decisions is what we're trying to get to. Okay. Now I would discuss that with the team and the players and see where they're at, if they want 9 or they want more or less and why. And we would probably come together to the decision of, okay, what's the target here for our group? And then we would get to it and get to work. And then obviously players rotate through. Okay. Now, in terms of the teaching points would be the same ones as you have here in terms of the technical aspect of how you want your athletes to adjust. Okay, so let's say we had decided that for the teaching points here on adjusting, we want like, I don't know, second step to the ball. Okay, and that was our teaching point and the words we were going to use to remind our players. Well, we would have this exact teaching point down here, okay, because we want the progression between our drills. Okay, so I would have second step to Now, I would probably have another one now because I've included some decision-making and cue reading and decision-making component. So I would have on top of that, it would be something along the lines of I don't know. Like something like bad position, or something like that, or whatever feels good or sounds good to you that day. Just find some language that's going to be quick and that your players are going to be able to recognize really fast, so that they know, okay, if I'm in a bad position, my approach is not ideal, then I put the ball to 1. Okay, and this is kind of the language we can use, and it can be part of the teaching point. Okay, so then I would just run multiple rounds of this for about like 30 minutes. So we would take it slowly. At some point, I could add some defenders and perhaps even eventually try to get these players to send the ball back as a free ball to this group so they can go at it again. Okay, now I don't want to assume that the team is ready for that. So we're just keeping it simple here, where they get the ball, they execute, and then once they hit the ball over the net, the play is over and we redo it again. Okay, but over half an hour, as all the players go through, you could definitely start adjusting your drill and increasing the demand on the athletes as they are successful. Okay, and show that they get it, right? It could be the opposite too. You know, you could try to like make it more simple if it was too complicated for your athletes. But the point is, we did a simple drill here where we just worked on the, wow, this is all messed up now. Where we did work on just the adjustment and the technical part. Now we added some cue reading here, okay, while reinforcing the steps to adjust. And just before we get into some gameplay, because we're getting at that point in the session, since we are later in the season, okay, we're over here, and we're at a point in the season where serve and receive is going to be really important for us, and we want to start including a little bit of maintenance work, okay, so that all of the stuff that we really improved over here, that we spend a lot of time working on, because here, if you look at these, right, you look at passing, you do it every couple of weeks, only once a week. That's the focus of our session. But it's such an important skill, and so is serving, that as you move through your season, you're going to want to start doing some of it at every single practice just to maintain, right? So that you're not waiting, 2 weeks or whatever for the one session you're going to do passing to do some. Okay, so as you move closer to your competition season, the competition phase of your season, definitely want to include some of that. So I'm including a little bit of serve receive maintenance drill for 5 to 10 minutes in my practice just before I get into my wash drill. Okay, so let's put 10 minutes. All right, and then we're good to go here. So I'm not going to fill all of this out. I'm just going to draw it out for you, but we're doing like a very simple serve receive drill, one that you've probably done before, where we're going to have all of our players, we're going to have like 3 passers, 2 servers, 1 target, and then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, 2 servers, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. 2 servers and 1 target, and then players are just serving to these players, passing, and they're catching the ball and sending them back to the servers. Okay, and then it's just really quick. We have, let's say, 9 balls put in and then rotate. 9 balls put in and rotate, and we can probably get every player to go through some passing twice. Okay, so we just do this quick, get a feel for serve receive, and then the key teaching points that I would use here would be the key teaching points that I used either last time, so the week before when we did passing as a priority, or anything that I feel needs to be reminded to the players after our tournament here. Okay, if something didn't go so well, right? That's the teaching point I would use. Now, I want to kind of skip quickly over this. I just wanted to mention the fact that we were going to do some serve and receive, but I want to get to the wash drill, okay? Because this is going to be the competition, 6-on-6 competition aspect of our practice, and we want it to relate to the rest of our session, okay? So what we're going to do in this offense wash drill, I'm not going to draw it out because it's just 6-on-6, okay? So we're going to save some time here, but we're going to make sure that we fill all of these things properly. So we're going to have an offense focused wash drill, and the purpose, okay, is going to be pretty much what we have in here. Okay, so it's going to be improved decision making in attack, learn to take the setter out if we attack to keep it in play, and improving adjustment on inside and off the net sets from a technical standpoint. Okay, so essentially that drill puts it all together at the end. Okay, so this will be my purpose. Okay, I'm going to have half an hour of it because that's where that's the amount of time that we have left if you add up everything else that's happening in this session. So we're going to do our 30-minute, and that's also what we have in our season plan. Okay, on Wednesday, that's orange. I have 1.5 hours here of technical work, which includes my warm-up, and then I've got half an hour of competition. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this drill 6-on-6. The skills variation, the focus, obviously it's going to be all skills, right? Where's my text here? It's going to be obviously whenever you play 6-on-6 or you play game, you work on all skills, but we're really going to work on attacking and adjusting the work. I made a typo. Voila. Okay. Our key cues. Okay, and this is obviously we're going to write it down here. Our key cues, okay, if you remember what we worked on, is going to be set. Let's say set is good or side slash. Okay, so essentially, where is the set? Is what we're going to want to recognize, and also how is my approach? Okay, so, and that's important, and we're going to have worked on this through the session. But if you remember, there's the component of recognizing if the set is inside or off the net, or not good. Then from there, I made the decision to, adjust my footwork. But then I also have to make the next decision based on the cue of, hey, how's my approach? Did I successfully adjust to the set? And am I in a position here to hit hard? Okay, so how's my approach and how's my position relative to the ball? All right, which is one of the basic cue that we had for our first drill. So once I have these cues, then obviously my decisions are going to be to adjust approach or not. And I'm going to have obviously the decision of hit hard or center one / keep in play. So those will be my decisions. Okay, so I know these are the things that I want players to improve through this drill, right? Because this is what we worked on. And again, we want that progression to be smooth and consistent. So the description, it's 6-on-6. And we're going to do a wash drill. So we're going to do 6v6 wash drill with 3 balls. So every sequence will have 3 balls. First ball is a serve. Okay. Second ball is going to be a 3 ball on the side of the receive. And the third ball is going to be a toss to the setter from the coach. Okay. So I can maybe draw it out a little bit for you, just on this one side. So let's say that we have our players, and let's say we have setter in one. Okay, so we have a setter here, we have our players here, okay, and we have a server here, okay. The first ball is going to come from the server. The second ball is going to come from a coach who's going to be on the outside of the court, and the ball is going to come as a free ball. Okay, so basically they play the first ball, they play it out until the rally is over, push the ball to the side. Now they're going to be in a defensive and their IDP, initial defensive position, and they're going to move into their free ball position as the coach sends the ball. They're going to play it out. And then the third one, and again, this is obviously depending on you having another pair of hands helping you, okay? Or you could just as a coach run back and forth. But you would have another coach, let's say around here with a ball, that will then put in the second ball. Okay, so they essentially play the first contact. I'm sorry, I don't think you can see it. I don't think you can see. Yeah, see, the coach is on the side here. The coach is going to put a ball in, for example, like this, okay, to the middle of the court or anywhere they want for the setter to immediately set to the outside. So what that does is that this coach here gets to kind of control the situation a little bit. If the serve receive is too good and the free ball passing is too good, then on this third ball, they can kind of create a out of system situation that may lead to more inconsistent sets that will then offer players an opportunity to have to adjust their footwork and therefore have to make decisions as to where to put the ball. Okay, either hit it hard or send it to one. Okay, so this is how I'm going to include those cues and decision making in this drill. We are going to play a game to 15, and we are going to emphasize the things we want to learn and our objectives for the session with some extra points and some incentives. So we are going to say that a hard hit kill is going to be worth 2 points. Okay, so if they score a point with a hard hit, it's going to be worth 2 points instead of just the 1 point of the rally. But, okay, the thing is, if they miss, obviously they don't score a point, but they can make an extra point if they roll to position one when they're not in a good position. Okay, so the way this works is essentially you play the point, and if the player is going up to attack the ball in the situation, and the ball is good, they hit hard, and they scored a point, great. Okay, 2 points. If they go to attack and the ball is not great or not ideal, then they have to make a decision in their head. Okay, am I going to hit it hard to try to get 2 points? And that's kind of the incentive that you created there. Or am I going to just try to roll it to one? Okay, because it's not good. And if it's true that it's not good and I roll it to one, I'm going to score a point, even if I don't actually score the rally. All right, so you would score a point there, even though you don't score and you don't win the rally on that shot, right? So you could send it to one, and then the setter digs the ball, they play it out, but you would still get a point, right? And so they're going to have to make the decision. Okay, so you're creating an incentive for them to hit hard, but at the same time, you're still working with them to have them recognize when the ball is not good, when their approach is not good, and then they're placing the ball to position one to try to put the other team in trouble. All right, so this may require, when you do this drill for the first time, some discussion between you and your players, which is normal. Okay, but you're going to have to kind of ask questions to the player and say, okay, how was your approach? And this is where there may be some differences between what you see and what the player felt. Okay, and so you're going to have these conversations so that you kind of are on the same page as to, well, this was a situation where you could have hit hard, or no, this was a good situation for you to actually put the ball into position one. Okay, so with this drill, what we're doing is we're really saying the only time you're kind of rolling the ball or tipping or pushing the ball somewhere is when you're not in a good position. But any other time, you should be hitting the ball hard. Okay, so we're also encouraging our players to do that, which I believe is a good thing with our young players. Now, with this type of drill, I really recommend, if you have the chance to have an iPad or a phone or something that you're using to record the play, so that when you do take a water break after the first 10 minutes or so, you can pull up a couple of situations and show to your team, like, hey, remember we had this discussion, this is why I think in this situation perhaps you should have played it to 1 versus attacking in hard, or vice versa. And you can start pointing out some of those things to kind of reinforce the learning before they go back to the court and then try it again, right? And so the way you would rotate through this is you would have, obviously this side would get 3 balls this side, and then this side could get 3 balls, then everyone rotates 1. And you go this side 3 balls, this side 3 balls, rotate 1. And and so you count a point for every rally, and you go to 15. After 15, you can switch to teams, switch to setters, move. If there's not been enough rotation for everyone to play every position, you can switch your setters or your attackers, even front row, back row, or you get to just rotate your players so that everybody gets to do all of the positions that they would normally do on your team at a competition. Right? You would manage it that way. Okay. So this is how I would plan a session using my season plan. Okay, for that week. So again, very simple at the beginning to kind of see everything you need to do and what the focus of your week is going to be. Then the challenge is to design your drills. But because I know what my teaching points are, because I've done my work at my tournament to identify what I want to improve with the team, and we've discussed it with the players, then I know what my session objectives are going to be. I know what my priority skill is going to be, and then I can really get going with planning. Okay. This one probably is what requires the most thinking because there's a lot of moving pieces. But once your warm up is done, then you get right away into this progression that is going to allow you to really reinforce your teaching points. Okay, so your teaching points, they're happening here to this drill. That is very simple, getting some reps to the players. Then you're getting some reps into a more game-like situation. It's still faster paced than a game. You get more repetitions per unit of time, but you keep working on those teaching points. Okay, but then they have to include more complex decision making here, and then you get them to work on it into a game situation, a 6-on-6 game situation, where it all comes together. Okay, so that's how you get that progression. Now, remember that we've included a little bit of serve receive just for maintenance, because at this point in the season, I probably want to do a little bit of serve and receive every practice in order to stay sharp for that phase of the game. All right. So there you have it. Okay, a practice plan planned. If it wasn't for me talking to you, this would have been planned in about half an hour, and you're ready to go to your practice, and you're going to have a practice that is great, that will definitely be focused, that will help your athletes understand what they're working on, and that will actually also allow them to really get better, because there's that progression from like simple to more complex in a game situation. All right. And the cool thing is that this practice is going to fit perfectly in your season with what you've done before and what you're planning on doing the following week. Okay. So that's how it's done. All right. Any questions from anyone left on the call? It's pretty good here. I think we've done it in an hour. So that's awesome. If you have any questions on this specific session, don't hesitate to email me. I'm at lpmainville@ontariovolleyball.org. It's a pleasure for me to walk you through some things. We only have an hour. Obviously, going through every single piece and writing it all out and discussing everything would take much longer. So if there are some pieces you feel that I kind of skipped over or went too fast over, please let me know, and I'll be happy to get back to you. So thanks everyone for joining, and enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy practice. Good luck with your practice planning.